Well, hello, my abundant healers. So I thought I would pop on in here. I know some of us are still reeling from our branding with So challenge a couple weeks ago. I know I'm still reeling from it. But I wanted to pop in here and answer some questions that have been coming up for new members that have been joining our group because we've had an influx of new members. Now, today, this question kind of pertains to selling, right? Sometimes people talk about being aversive to salesy gimmicks or wanting to attract new clients without having to prospect themselves, right? So, for example, do you find that it's difficult for you to honor your fee? Do you find that it's hard for you to really charge what your time, energy, and talents are really worth? Do you find that it's a struggle to put a price tag on your goods and services? You just can't figure out what the value of it is. And so then you look out into the marketplace to figure that out. Okay. Do you kind of cringe at the idea of having some kind of money conversation and typically accept less than you really want to avoid feeling guilty or like somehow you've impaired someone else's financial situation by asking for more? Okay. So if you find yourself struggling with those things, then this is going to be a great video for you to watch because I'm referring to it as the Soulful Art of Selling. Okay. Now, if you don't know me, my name is Briana McWilliam. I'm a creative arts therapist, author, and transformational educator. And I also happen to coach therapists, coaches, and healers about how to scale their practices online. And this is through my program, The Abundant Healer 90 Days to Scale Your Practice Online, which are the 9 steps I took to start bringing in up to 10K per month in online revenue. And so today we are going to dive into the soulful art of selling. And so recently, an incoming member of our private Facebook group mentioned that she wanted to learn how to attract more clients without having to prospect them. And so two things kind of came up for me when I read that statement. And so the first is, in my program, The Abundant Healer 90 Days to Scale Your Practice Online, I teach you how to create passive income, which involves, you might say, a form of passive prospecting, but I really prefer to think of it as authentic marketing. Okay. Basically, that means that you write some really effing amazing marketing copy by tapping into your own spirit and inner being to really make contact with those clients, I call them soul clients, that you're meant to find so that you can both experience a level of spiritual ascension over whatever aspect of life and or service you are connecting through, okay? Now, my theory is to really connect in with those kinds of clients, you have to be connected to yourself because soul clients inevitably are just some foil of some aspect of yourself that is searching for growth. Okay. Now, once you can write your marketing copy from that open, heart-centered place, potential clients basically self-select with a little help from low-cost paid advertising. But that also comes from all of these practices that we do to really ham up your copy. Okay. Now, there are more active ways of doing this, of course, including being increasingly visible online and showing up in live stream videos like I'm doing right now with you in your online communities. For example, basically just letting people see you talk the talk, walk the walk, and explain more about what you have to offer and just kind of witness your passion for it, right? And that brings me to the second thing that came up for me, which is this. You have to get over the idea that others are going to view you as selfish, money grubbing, and shameful if you passionately talk about what it is that you have to offer. Because more often than not, quite the opposite is true. Most people want to be sold to. Anytime I walk into a store, or right now I'm packing to move. My house is a mess. It's all boxes. I haven't found an apartment yet. I have to be out by the end of the month. This is Manhattan real estate for you. And I walk in and the broker's just kind of strolling around. I'm like, tell me about this place. Sell it to me, right? People want more often than not to be sold to. Okay. And even if you do encounter someone who puts you down or feels aversive to the way that you're talking about your service and what you have to offer, you got to get over caring about that too. Okay. Because then it's not resonant for them and it's not for them. And that's great, right? Because the more you stand out and the more you really are representative of what you have to offer, the quicker and the faster And the more easily you can just weed out the people you're not intended to work with. And that is going to save you a lifetime of heartache in the end and headaches, right? So to put it more succinctly, if everyone agrees with you, if everyone likes you, if you are just like, the neutral color, you're the neutral couch in the room, you're doing something wrong, okay? Because you won't stand out. And if you don't stand out, your soul clients can't find you, right? If you don't raise your hand in a crowd, how are they going to know who and where you are, okay? So if you are living your message, selling really becomes a soulful art, okay? It actually becomes an expression of, an extension of the work itself, the work you were actually put on this planet to do, right? And I love sales conversations because it very quickly and decisively hones in on the very obstacles and hangups most people have around honoring themselves and their value. Not to mention stepping into their own authority, because we assign monetary value to the things that we prioritize. And oftentimes, I've said it before and I'll say it again, our priorities are screwed up, right? Namely, we prioritize the opinions of others instead of what we know is going to make our hearts sing, right? And so that leads to prioritizing material gain and external accessories so that we can project a certain image. And incidentally, this is different than just wanting money for the sake of wanting money. We can attract money. You can be a money manifester, especially if you have a money mentality and mastery of your mindset, right? How's that for alliteration? Right? But when you accomplish that, it's not because you're looking for the money itself. It's because you are so aware of and living in your whys, like why you want that money, which is typically some form of freedom, right? And so we tend to think that if we prioritize what's going on around us, if we assuage the opinions of those around us, that's going to bring us some level of aplomb, and that's going to bring us the things we think we want. And so we spend all this time putting on this mask, projecting this persona to the world. And we think that if we can control that image, then we can control what other people think and feel about us, right? And then we can rely on what they think and feel about us to make us think and feel good things about ourselves. Do you see how precarious that is? I'm here talking to therapists, coaches, and healers. If you're watching this, you're probably a therapist, coach, and/or healer in some fashion, right? And I hope that as I talk about these things, you are recognizing that what I've just described is an essential problem for most, if not all, of our clients to different degrees, right? And if you struggle with owning, asserting, and defending your value, even if it's in a money conversation, I hope you're starting to recognize that is self-sabotaging within yourself. It's the same mechanism that you're trying to help other people get over, okay? But here's the thing, and this has been true in my personal experience as well as in the experiences of the individuals that have taken my program, The Abundant Healer, 90 Days to Scale Your Practice Online. Hope you're seeing the passion with which I'm plugging that into this video. To write amazing copy, amazing marketing copy that's going to flesh out your authentic marketing message and strategy, even if you're looking to passively prospect your clients, you still have to know how to sell yourself. You still have to know where and how what you're offering fits into the buyer's experience, okay? And you still have to be willing to point it out to them. That's in fact what affects transformational changes. And if you're a therapist, coach, and healer, you are interested in affecting transformational changes, okay? Now, maybe you think that's a contradiction in terms. I don't need to sell myself. I shouldn't have to. The value of what I offer speaks for itself. Maybe that's what you tell yourself. And yet you remain stuck. If that's the case, why are you still stuck in a place of stagnancy, scrounging around for clients, or treading water after you've hit a certain professional ceiling? Why might that be? I want you to consider something. If you're selling something that extends from your sole purpose, your reason for being here, your reason for doing what you do, then what is your hang up on selling it? If you are wearing a new outfit, okay, and someone comes up to you and says, hey, I love that outfit. The color really compliments you. Would you have any hangups in saying, oh my gosh, you wouldn't believe it. I got it at Target for such a reasonable price and it's such high quality. You should really go check it out. I hear this conversation 1,000 times a day. And you have absolutely no problem making that recommendation and giving that free endorsement to Target because you 100% believe in the value of what that person would get if they were to follow your suggestion, if they were to follow in your path, right? Your recommendations. Now, what if, I want you to consider this, what if you yourself had designed that outfit? You had designed it, sewn it, created it, and mass marketed it. It's been an absolute boon in your career that Target saw the value in what you had to offer and picked it up as one of their lines, right? One of their clothing lines. And you believe in your product. You have a sense of pride and accomplishment at having created something so beautiful and attractive and practical for people. And you like wearing it yourself too. Why wouldn't you? You made it because it was something you would want to wear, right? Now, in that instance, would you still feel comfortable letting someone know how much it costs and then telling them where they could go to find and buy it? Or would the conversation go more something like this? Oh, yeah, thanks. Yeah, I made it. Oh, you made it. Hey, can you give me one of those for free? Because, we're friends, right? Friends and family discount. Now you feel like you're put in an awkward position and you're like, sure. And you hand it over. Something that you put a tremendous amount of time, energy, and effort into that a company as big as Target saw fit to pay you for and sell in their stores and put a decent price tag on. Now you're handing it over for free because you kind of have this sick feeling in the pit of your stomach that you're giving away some piece of yourself just to assuage someone else because you want them to like you or because you're afraid of what they'll say if you don't, because you want to avoid their envy or their judgment of your selfishness and the shame that might come of it, right? And so after that, you're really kind of left with, you're trying to avoid all of that. And yet in the avoidance of that, you're kind of left with this sort of icky feeling of disappointment and being kind of mad at yourself for not sticking up for yourself because you're used to sort of making yourself into a whipping post. And so it's so much better to take something away from yourself than to ruin someone else's day, right? So do you see how the first scenario in which you have no issue making a recommendation of this beautiful thing that you're wearing to Target, do you see how that scenario values the product and there's absolutely no issue in honoring and recognizing and recommending that value? And how the second scenario, where just because you were the one who created it, you can't accept payment for it, you can't name and claim the value of it, and yet in that situation, you're the one depreciating it? Do you see how utterly screwed up that is? That the very person who created, designed, and delivered this beautiful, amazing thing would be the one most likely to devalue it? And then to perpetuate that by telling other people that if they don't lower their fees or if they don't honor some ideology of what it should be according to what everyone else is doing, that somehow they're immoral or they're shameful or they're just money grubbing. Do you see how screwed up that thought process is and how that mindset is just a complete parasite on the profession, not only for people who practice, but also for the people who receive services? And why do we do that? Why do we do that? Because years of conditioning have taught us that it is shameful to own our own value and that one must be humble and in order to be deserving and morally righteous, right? So there are 3 reasons, in my opinion, why we get hung up on putting dollar signs on our value, okay? And the first is to name and claim your value is deemed selfish in our society, particularly if money is the expression of that value, because our scarcity attitudes around money are ridiculously rampant. But that's a different post, and I will do that at another time. But number 1, we think it's selfish to name and claim our value. Secondly, we think we owe other people things because we think they owe us something. Okay, like in that example I gave you, the person was your friend, and so they felt like you owed them something. Right? And so then you felt like you owed them something. Okay. Thirdly, we care too much about what other people think and or want from us, which means that we walk around operating from a place of fear, guilt, and shame about what are they going to do, think, and or feel about me. Now, notably, guilt, shame, and fear, these are all the shadow aspects of the first three energetic vortices, which I'm going to refer to as chakras, in the body. And they're the first three to mature throughout early development. And that's the root, which is the genital region, the sacral, which is between the pelvis, between the root and the navel, and then the solar plexus, which is in the abdomen. Okay. Now, there are also energetic vortices that are in the upper parts of the body, but today I'm going to focus on these first three. Okay, because they're the first to mature, usually in early childhood development, and this is very much the energetic areas in which we get a lot of blocks around owning our own value, especially when it comes to asking for what we are worth. Money conversations, keeping a roof over our head, feeling secure, being in debt, right? Things like that. Now, these are also the energetic vortices that I would argue are some of the most essential in bringing in what you want into concrete manifestation. They translate the energy from your upper chakras and your higher knowing and your higher consciousness into that of the physical form. So if you have limiting beliefs that are fueled by an energy of fear and or guilt and or shame, okay, it's likely that you have some blockages in your root, your sacral, or your solar plexus, okay? Now, in my course, The Abundant Healer, 90 Days to Scale Your Practice Online, we take a whole week and we tap into all 7 of your main chakras in order to clear these kinds of myths and blocks that we cling to. But for today, I want to just give you a taste of how we might tackle the most obvious, okay? And that is the top layer of shame, in my opinion, in this context, in the context of this question, in the context of the soulful art of selling. Okay, so we're going to talk about shame. And that is associated again with the solar plexus and the abdomen. It's the shadow aspect of the solar plexus. And I might even invite you to just touch that part of your body right now. I'm going to like angle the screen so you can see. Like just sort of like let your fingers sort of interlace and hold that part of your abdomen. Okay. And maybe just like make contact with it. Okay, if shame is something that comes up for you, if you struggle with your value, if you struggle with money conversations, all that, just kind of touch your belly for a moment. Okay. Now I want to talk just a little bit about shame and what it is and where it comes from. So shame is about how other people receive you. It's about thinking that other people will find out that you're some kind of fraud, that you don't really belong, and wherever you may find yourself, you're somehow just putting on a mask, right? You're really just fooling everyone into thinking that you know what you're doing. That's what you think you're doing, right? So you're heavily reliant on this mask to feel safe. You're reliant on how people perceive you. Your sense of self-worth is really dependent upon kind of a desperate need and or seeking of approval. You tend to need a lot of degrees or certifications to feel equipped. You tend to be a perpetual student to avoid stepping into the role of teacher or practitioner because there's so much responsibility with that and you just don't think you have the know-how despite all of your degrees and certifications, right, or education. You might prefer institutionalized work over more independent practices. And if that's the case, you might want to ask yourself if you're struggling with some shame-based blockages. Okay. Now at this time, we're going to do a bit of an exercise, okay? And I'd like you to, if you are in a comfortable spot, just kind of close your eyes. We're keeping contact with the abdomen, the sacral chakra. Taking a breath in, releasing it, really grounding into where you may be, melting into whatever supports you. Feeling the warmth of your hands against your belly. And with your inhalation, just imagine drawing in more and more spaciousness into that part of your body. Exhaling anything that doesn't serve. And on your next inhalation, we're going to drop your awareness, your inner eye, down into the belly. Drop it down there. You might even see it following the length of your esophagus, down through your throat, through your chest and your heart cavity, down even further still, into your stomach, into your belly and your upper abdomen area. And I'd like you to just take a look around. It might appear to you like an interior space. It might appear to you like a landscape. Could just be sensations in your body, or thoughts or feelings that float into your consciousness. We're not resisting anything today. We're just going to let it all in. Just look at it for a moment, acknowledge it. I see you. And then let it kind of blur into the background, almost as if it is a painting on the wall. There's no resistance today. And as we hang out in your abdomen area and we allow things in, there will be something, maybe some things that stand out to you, that kind of gets stuck in the movie reel. It's almost like you've hit pause, or the record is skipping and it just keeps playing that same lyric over and over again. Something will stand out to you and beg for your attention. Again, it could be visual, could be sensorial, could be felt, could be a memory, could be an image. Just remain open to receive it. Now, whatever this is, in the context of this practice, it will be related to your shame in some way. It could be the origins of it, could be how you express it. It could be the way it is manifesting now in your life or in your business. It could be in your love life, any aspect of life. It could even be guidance on how to process it and get more of a sense of balance around it again. It could be all of those things in one. That's the way your inner being communicates. It's a lot of information, has to be communicated very succinctly. So people think sometimes the language of your inner being or the spirit of the unconscious is confusing because it's symbolic. But if you think about it, it's actually very organized, because the symbol contains so much information very succinctly and instantaneously. And so just breathe in that witnessing almost as if it is a fragrance, letting it sink in through your lungs into the blood, pumping to the rhythm of your heartbeat from your crown to your toes, from your fingertips to your nose. Just allowing that witnessing and that information to become body knowledge, sinking in through your muscle fibers, your bones, becoming cell memory. And just know that through synchronicities in your environment, your own imagination, intuition, dreams, that the wisdom of this witnessing will rise to your conscious awareness. And when the time is right, you will know what it means and or what you need to do. Just take another couple deep breaths. Kind of wiggle your fingers and your toes. Maybe stretch your neck a little bit, side to side, loosen your shoulders. And when it feels right, you can open your eyes and kind of come back. Okay. So if you find yourself struggling with shame, if you find yourself struggling to understand how speaking with passion about what it is that you offer and how much you're offering it for and why this is a tremendous and amazing value, I invite you to save this video and work on this practice. You can obviously do it more than once. I also recommend writing down what came up for you, because that will kind of allow that conversation between the body and spirit with your higher consciousness and awareness. And over time, it doesn't come all at once. Sometimes over time, as it's sort of simmering in there, law of attraction will draw clarifying experiences into your into your life. So throughout the week, maybe you saw a vision of something, and tomorrow that thing pops up in your awareness in one way or another. Okay. Now, as I mentioned before, if you're interested in learning more about practices like these and clearing all of your chakras and stepping into having a positive money mentality and mastering your mindset around these things, this is what I talk about in my program, The Abundant Healer, 90 Days to Scale Your Practice Online. Okay. And this program is the 9 steps that I took to start bringing in up to $10,000 per month in online revenue, doing what I love, doing what I love. And it takes you through the leaping, landing, and thriving phases of your business. We hold your hand and we walk you through how to develop an authentic marketing strategy that will have you creating a 6-week signature program that you can either do as live online coaching or offering through automation. And then you can start bringing in some pretty hefty income and doing whatever you want with your time. And kind of like me today, who's spending half my day packing boxes and looking for apartments on the Upper East Side of Manhattan in the middle of a heat wave. So I hope that you've enjoyed this experience. I would also love, if possible, if you'd like to comment below in this thread about maybe whatever fears, anxieties, or kind of shame-based beliefs that you've been given before, or that you've witnessed in your communities, or things that you may even be struggling with. And the more content you can give me in the comments, the more I can create content like this to help us reframe those experiences and start calling in the cash clients and abundances that you seek in your practices, right? All right, so I hope you enjoyed that, and I would look forward to seeing your comments and your feedback, and I hope you have a great day.